He blew that one.
Pretty colorful today, Brent. I'm almost as colorful. I've got
Oh,
my
Keith,
Okay, so
don't make me mute you,
we
please.
should be streaming to Facebook, Twitter, and
Okay, I got a LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
I have a LinkedIn.
Anybody have a Twitter?
Yep, I have a Twitter.
Twitter's live, Facebook.
I don't have Facebook. I can't. I don't see it.
It's live. We're live.
Okay, that's it, right? We don't. None of us are on Meatball or whatever the new network is.
Threads. Are we on Threads yet?
I'm on Threads.
Okay, well,
We'll talk.
to you, next decade.
Okay, here we go. I'll probably stay out since we've got a 6.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But
Okay.
you're on right now.
Okay.
Okay, give us the.
Okay. All right. Mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is a rare example of the Gillmor Gang. This isn't a real Gillmor Gang because there is no such show.
what?
What? It's not existent.
Huh?
We're working everywhere. What?
It's an AI hallucination of the Gillmor Gang.
Exactly. That's you couldn't be more correct, sir.
And there is evidence. Evidence is that Frank is clean shaven, looking young. Dennis is clean shaven and looking young. Clearly not the real beings.
Here we are.
What, the real beards?
Beings, not the real beings.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we are not real.
Okay, so here are the people. Oh, and then there's our producer, director, and co-star Tina Chase Gillmor. Welcome. Okay, I've said that you're lower third, so you can handle that the way you like. From London, England, is Frank Radis.
Hello, Steve. Hello, gangsters, even the beardless ones. It's great to be here. Sorry I missed the last one. I was unavoidably detained.
Did they ask for your passport and they hold on to it?
Passport. Papers, please. They said, papers. Show me your papers.
Take this.
Can you say that in Turkish?
But how you
The guy
blah.
that just smiled is Michael Markman. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you for the welcome, and I'm glad to be here from the great state of near Seattle.
Okay.
wow.
From the framework of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriand.
Voila, I'm here. You know, it is raining like crazy here. It's when it's not raining, it's very humid. It's kind of like those are the only choices this summer. I was out this morning and it came down like I was in the tropics.
Cats and dogs.
Yeah, but I call it pissing down rain, but the same thing. Yeah.
Don't step in a poodle.
Yeah, there you go. Well, speaking of which, I mean, there've been flooding all over the place.
Okay, so we're still not
anyhow.
because we have to introduce the representative from Georgia. That's Brent Leary.
I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to join us or something.
Yeah, Glean. Yeah.
Yeah, Glean Green. Actually, I'll tell you right up front, guys. This is my view right now. I'm watching
Oh
Wimbledon. Watching you guys on one end and Wimbledon on it. It's like a fifth setter here. This is good, getting good. But
Is
I'm
that-
glad to be here.
Grass courts.
Yes, it's Wimbledon.
Yeah, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Well, you know the definition of tennis, Brent, just not to spoil it for you, but it's a game between two people that lasts up to 5 whatever they're called.
Sets.
Sets.
And 5 sets.
Really clarifying info.
And then Djokovic wins.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
we're in the fifth set.
we're in the fifth set. It's a good one.
The
Yeah,
guy
it is.
mumbling in what appears to be English is Keith here. Welcome, Keith.
English. That is my native tongue. English. As who was it that said this last week? Oh yeah, I've forgotten who it was now, but some venture capitalist said, "Why would?" Oh, it was Vinod Khosla. Why would anyone ever want to go to university to study their native tongue? It shows lack of ambition.
Spoken like a venture capitalist.
Yeah. Or a failed comedian.
Ooh, it was out. That was out.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so I can start with any of the things that I don't want to talk about. What would they be?
Oh,
Well, I would just
the
like to know
actors.
has anyone been impaneled on a grand jury? Just raise your hand.
No.
Okay. I'm
That's
out of
it?
it.
Okay. The actors, I want to talk about the actors strike and the whole AI part of it, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Well, I just
Anything else?
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, there's definitely one that you don't want to talk about is the importance of code interpreter in the context of Chat GTP.
Why? Because it doesn't work.
that's fascinating.
No, it works fantastically. It actually makes Chat GPT be able to do math, which it can't do natively, and complex math as well.
So it can really code.
Yeah.
Seems
Yeah,
to me
at some point in the
any
future.
AI system that would have to do math lacks ambition.
I agree. Okay, anything else that we don't want to talk about?
Yeah, threads.
Ooh,
Now
yeah,
you
we don't want
Let's
to
not
talk about that.
threads.
Don't
okay.
want to talk about that.
Go ahead, Frank.
Go ahead about which one?
Threads. I don't want to talk about the other thing.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about the
No, I think
AI
it's-
and
I think it's
the
a-
writer,
It's got nothing to do with it. I don't agree.
I'm
It has
reading a book
no-
right now that fits in really nice with that.
Well,
with what?
are you going to
With
be?
the whole AI thing.
It'll be on the Pombriant Radish show that's following just briefly, shortly thereafter.
In fact,
So
I gotta go. I gotta get ready.
Okay,
So
thanks.
I'm on Threads, and I've now been on it for I don't know, I want to say like 10
About a
days,
week?
something like
10
about a
days?
week.
Yeah.
That's about it. And honestly, it's okay. I haven't seen any real problems with it other than I can't seem to populate it with enough of the people who follow me either on Instagram or Twitter to make it worth my
Who knew?
while.
Who knew?
Well, but I don't think I think I'm like kind of low on the totem pole. A lot of people have gotten a lot of their people to move over, and I just can't seem to get them to move over. And I've tried to use all of my social media to advertise it and to market it and to try and get people to move over. And short of offering money, if I don't get
Frank, can I ask you a
Well,
serious question? Why
Yeah.
is that? Why do you want people to move over? I don't get it.
Well,
What's the big deal?
as the only thing that I don't like Twitter just as a concept. I like Twitter and what it does, but I don't like how it does what it does anymore. And I'm not dropping out of it, though. I don't feel that strongly about getting out of it because I think it's useful. But if, for example, Threads became as valuable to me as Twitter is, I might drop Twitter, but it doesn't look like it's going to be. And I can't quite figure out why it's what just happened. The kid won another point. I just can't figure out why I seem to have plateaued.
Do you think you might be premature in calling a plateau?
Possibly. That's why I keep giving it time, but I'm not sure what I can do to make it. This is my issue with it. I don't know what I can do to make it populate any faster. And look, it's picking up one or two every few hours, but it's not like all of a sudden there's 3,000 followers in it. And to me, it's not valuable unless it's reaching a larger subset of my social media community.
Okay.
Right now, the most valuable thing to me, honestly, it's LinkedIn.
Okay, so LinkedIn is one thing that seems to have some value. We've got the vote from Brent, which is WTF. Anybody else have an opinion?
So
Yeah. I have an opinion.
go for it.
Well, it seems like if you want to bring people over,
Wow.
it might be smart to do it topically. In other words, if you're going to talk about the writers' strike, you just notify your peeps that you're going to be doing that only on Threads.
Well, that's an interesting point. I am actually trying to only do topical stuff, things that I think the people who generally follow me are interested in. So that's got a lot to do with media and a lot to do with technology and, probably less politics now, but more culture. And I've tried that actually, and but I haven't tried it exactly the way, if I understand what you're saying, is to determine that I will only use Thread to do one of those things, and then market it as, if you want to hear what my opinions are, see what's going on with the writers' strike, the only way you're going to find out on my social media thread is if you go to Threads. That I have not tried.
Well, as you're doing this, you could maybe for the next week advertise on Twitter to your friends. Oh, see my thread on Threads.
I'm doing that, and it hasn't. I mean, it's made somewhat of a difference, but not much. Go ahead, Tina.
Love to point something out here, and I'm really sorry for interrupting, but Dennis, who does not like social media or use it very much, is giving actually some really great advice.
Yes,
here.
it's funny.
I'm kind of like, I just wanted to point that out, and thank you, Dennis, because it's like it's I think it's accurate advice. And
Okay.
I would do that.
Okay,
Well,
Mike,
thanks, Tina.
what do you want to
As
say?
far as I'm concerned, if anybody wants to waste their time on social media, they can go over there and do that.
Very good. Let's run that clip again. Michael, can I hear you?
Sure. I think the first thing to say is Threads is just a week and a couple days old.
Yeah.
And trying to form a judgment of it based on a week's worth of experience is, I think, a little premature. Second, Threads is incredibly incomplete in terms of its feature set. I have a feeling that Zuck rushed it out because there were so many hiccups going on Twitter, and he thought it was a good opportunity. But in terms of its functionality, it's barely there. So we have a few weeks to wait before we really know what that product is.
We'll put that in the category of
Well, but you say that, Michael, though I've spoken to a bunch of friends of mine who have actually managed to pull over significant portions of their social media followers to Threads. I mean, 100,000 followers, 50,000 followers. I mean, real numbers, which I actually have on my other social media, but can't seem to make it work on Threads. And maybe it's because everyone that I'm trying to get on Threads is like Dennis or Brent.
Okay, we're
Dennis,
running out of oxygen on this. We're running out of oxygen.
Who says?
Me. Anything else?
Just kidding.
Brent, you want to say anything?
What's the score, Brent?
No, well, it's 3-2 in the fifth, and Alcaraz is about to serve. He's up a break. Anyway, that was your Wimbledon update for the show. So I am just so fascinated. Frank, when you say these people are pulling over 100,000, what are they saying? I'm leaving Twitter, and if you want to get my updates, you got to go to Threads. Is that what?
No, nobody's. Honestly, it's a good point. Nobody has said that, but they have pointed out that their numbers are worthwhile, but they have not said that they're leaving Twitter. So that's an interesting thing. So I guess a lot of them feel the same way I feel, and to some extent the way Michael feels, and that is that it still doesn't have the functionality of Twitter. However, I have not seen a tremendous amount of abusive stuff on it yet, but my subset is much smaller than it had been. So I don't know.
Michael?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things to say. One is that I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, the biggest impetus for people going to Threads is that they don't like Musk. Basically, that's its biggest selling point. Musk isn't here, and if people don't have intolerable Musk aversion, there's really no great reason for them to move over to Threads. What I found is that Twitter is really well established, almost like LinkedIn in a professional way, especially in the news field. People use it to promote what they are publishing in other forms, on other websites, in print. It's a big promotional vehicle. And one thing that keeps people going to a site is not just how many followers you can get, but how many people you're interested in you can follow there. So
Well,
if you want to find out what so and so is thinking, you go where they are.
so you're right about.
I just want to say there's a word that a phrase we haven't used in a long time, which is user-generated content. I don't know, that sort of fell out of the vocabulary. But basically, the value of
Why? When you get Chat GBT.
But no, you're right, Michael.
Let me just complete this. The value of any social platform is the people who are on it, and so Twitter, despite Musk and however you feel about Musk, has an attractive gravitational pull based on people that you follow there. And
I would add,
does not yet have an attractive gravitational pull.
No,
It has a repulsion from Twitter.
You're right and you're wrong. Almost everyone that I follow, for example, people who say things that I'm interested in, I've found on Threads and have gone and followed them. They have not necessarily followed me back. That's one thing. The other thing is, you're 100% right. It's about who you go to and what you're interested in. But one of the things that really bugged me about Twitter, which pissed me off a lot, was, this is personal, losing the blue check, which verified me. And I refused to pay for the blue check, which sort of verifies you. And so there's many people on Twitter now who aren't who they say they are. And I haven't seen that yet on Threads, but I also haven't seen that Threads has done anything that's similar to what the original blue check was. I was really pissed off about that.
There is a blue,
Hang on a sec, Michael.
check.
Let's get new voices into this. Keith?
So my view is actually quite close to yours, Michael. I think you've got to start with the fact that Twitter has not just 350 million people, but who those people are and how they use it. My Threads experience is like Frank's. I see a lot of the same people, but I don't see them making their statements on Threads. They're still largely making their statements on Twitter. Why? Because Twitter's more of a canvas for who they are and who they want to be. Threads is more like a political statement. I agree with Michael there that it's kind of the anti-Musk thing. And 100 million, to be honest, doesn't impress me, because they started with 1 billion captive audience of Instagram users. So actually, in some ways, 100 million's a disappointment. It's not actually that great. It's 1 in 10 of the Instagram people. And so overall, I think you've got to assess this a little bit like you would assess Mastodon, as a worthy attempt to create a counterpole that is yet to be proven. And I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be a fail.
Well, so far, sort of on that same line, a lot of the people whose stuff I follow, it's funny, I'll see the exact same thing on their Twitter feed that they have now reposted on their Threads feed. So it's not like I'm getting anything new. So that's one point. And the other point is if that's the case, then why would I want to stay with Threads? So I'm kind of wavering.
Said that backwards.
Well, there's the issue also of how much can one man do who's not named Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg needs to come across with some convincing reason other than the fact that here it is. In my experience, I've seen successful invasions of established markets a couple of times. The most significant was when Salesforce started up. When Salesforce started up, it was the CRM industry was already pretty big, and the big dog in the hunt was Siebel Systems, and Siebel had product in every vertical that was at the time required for CRM. So that was a good thing. That was a done deal. Salesforce came in with a couple of differentiators that weren't really differentiators, but they really hammered on. So one of them was we're easier to use. And the irony was that they were easier to use because they had almost no product. They used to criticize Siebel for having all of these tabs. And Salesforce had one tab just for SFA.
How does that relate to what we're talking about?
Well, I think Zuckerberg needs to come up with his differentiator for Threads versus Twitter. It can't just be here it is, and it's not Elon.
Well, it's not. There is no unique user proposition for Threads.
Listen, now with a whole lot less Nazis is a pretty good sales proposition to me.
Well, that
I just don't check the box for Nazis, and I don't have that problem.
I must say,
Let me say what I think.
Out of 100
Let me say what I think for just a second here, which is very little about this. The thing that Zuckerberg has going for him and has for a number of years is fast following, and particularly with Reels. Reels are both our daughters use Reels, and the onboarding is fast, it's efficient, and they're gaining market share.
Do they use TikTok?
From a competitor,
No.
it does, of course not, because it's illegal in this country, right?
You mean because of China?
China?
Yeah,
China.
that's what I'm saying. So I don't think that, to agree with a number of the comments here, I don't think that trying to kill Twitter is a reason for being. And I don't think that it's going to have legs, as I think Keith is implying.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that Zuckerberg is bad at this kind of thing. He's not. He's really good at it. And so it's going to cause disruption, and it's going to change the marketplace.
Mm.
I'd like to ask a question, because I haven't, I've been doing a lot of other things in the past couple of weeks, and I want to understand something about Threads. How integrated is it going to be with Facebook?
not at all. It isn't integrated at all, except
Well,
It's integrated with Instagram more than Facebook, and Instagram is an owned subsidiary of the Meta Corporation, but it's
And it has trouble. It's having trouble gaining young people. So there's the crossover between Instagram and the markets that they're looking for to survive or to prosper is unclear.
Well, what I see is that because of Reels, we've had this really good crossover in Facebook. So if you're doing Instagram, whatever they call it in Instagram, it's popping up. If you want it to, it's popping up in Facebook Reels, right? And I think that that's been, I think that that's been actually helpful to bring in the people who are not using Facebook. It's like, well, I'm not really using it, but it's going there. So it's cool. And I don't even have to think about it. So I'm thinking if there's that kind of integration with Threads eventually, and I understand it may not be now, but if we should be expecting some sort of like connection, okay, between.
No, but you can. It's a user choice to be able to click a button and say anything I put on Instagram automatically appears in Threads. And also, if you, for example, want to put something that you're looking at elsewhere on the internet on your Threads feed, and the Threads icon now comes up as one of the choices for where you might want to send it, where it took, I guess, about a week for that to happen. So I think that things are starting to happen with Threads. But as Michael pointed out, it has only been a week or a week and a half, or I think Brent said.
I think
I've known my granddaughter for about 2 months,
Yeah.
and I'm convinced that she's fantastic. So
That's good.
I'm not sure that the week. I think you can get a pretty good idea. I mean, my idea is I ain't signing up.
I think there's a broader context here, which is was hit on a bit by you, Steve, when you talked about Zuckerberg. This product has been in the works long before the recent Twitter kerfuffles. Why? Well, one of the things Zuckerberg is super good at is understanding the canvas that people demographics move to. So when he acquired Instagram or when he acquired WhatsApp, he was prepared to move from canvas A, not necessarily move, but extend into a completely new canvas that had different characteristics in both cases. I think Metaverse was an attempt to do that clearly is before its time or possibly a failure forever. So this is another one of those attempts. By the way, do you remember when he tried to do a phone? He's always looking for a canvas that is the landing place for the next audience. And what that tells you is he's super aware of the life expectations of Facebook and Instagram are now in question. So he needs a new shiny object that people like. So I actually think they're telling the truth when they say this isn't about destroying Twitter. I think this is trying to get a more engaged experience for Facebook users that will last in the future. And probably that's what we should measure it by.
This is Facebook's answer to Apple trying to build an ecosystem.
Absolutely. I mean, Apple's not the only one who does that. All the giants are trying to do that, find new territory that they can use their existing audience and their existing knowledge base to conquer. Amazon is probably an even better example than Apple of building out from strength to strength. And Zuckerberg, it not only needs to do that for the reasons that Keith talked about, I think he also has fallen flat on his face with the metaverse, and he needs a recovery.
Okay, I want to switch gears here. How does everybody think about what's the thing on the face from
Mask.
Apple?
The nose?
Oh, we're a couple months out.
The mouth.
What does everybody short version think about its impact?
What are we
Start
talking
with Brent.
about? No, what are we
The-
talking about? I
The
don't know.
carburetor on the head.
Vision
Oh,
Pro.
the Apple Vision Pro thing? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
We'll
said
start
except me, so I'm not saying.
How with you, Brent?
I thought you said except me.
No.
I mean, quite honestly, that was the talk of the world for a couple of days, but then Threads came out and everybody kind of got fixated on that. So
So
I don't know anybody
what
that's
I'm
got
asking
one.
you is forget Threads, forget Chat GPT. What do you think about the impact of that? I mean, we're a couple of months away from introduction. What do you think?
is the price still $3,500?
It's probably more.
Well, that'll tell you what I think.
Mm.
I think that I won't be buying it
This
anytime.
is this from the man who buys $3,500 cameras like the fashion.
Yeah, but that's different, man.
Yeah. Show us your back shot there that you showed us before.
Yeah,
Let's see
was
that.
good.
Yeah.
That was a good cutaway.
Yeah, but,
The cutaway costs how much? $3,500.
oh my God, look at that. He's got a studio, for God's sakes.
Oh,
that
this
light
is-
probably cost $1,200.
No, more.
See, this suddenly became a
Well,
golf.
look at this shot, though. Isn't
No.
it worth it, fellas?
Oh
Ladies,
yeah, that's a great
come on.
shot. That's really good.
he's made a mistake.
Put it back on so we can see the end of Wimbledon. This guy's gonna beat Djokovic. We are
Okay.
watching
Well,
history in the making here.
I've put my light on
I
now.
changed my subject.
Well, I just wanted to say.
I have a couple of things to say about Vision Pro if you want to get back to that.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah.
say that one of our viewers had asked us, what about tribal? Anyone have just quickly?
No, you're trying to change my subject. You
No,
want
they are.
topics
And
are
I'm just
really
trying to
important.
support the viewers, okay, Steve? I'm just supporting.
Yeah,
the
this
viewers
ain't-
are very important too.
This is autocracy 1A.
Tribal, Keith, as far as who's supporting it and the.
It's owned by Jay-Z.
Oh,
I don't even know what tribal is. So
It's a high-end full data versions of what
No,
happened.
that's Tide. That's Tide.
No, it's Tidal, trust me.
Oh, is it?
That's a music thing, isn't it? Title?
Yeah, but they're talking about tribal, not tidal.
Yeah.
Tribal, I have no
I,
idea.
I don't know anything about tribal.
But at our age, they
I think
sound
the fact that
very
nobody
similar.
knows what tribal is an opinion.
It is an indicator.
Oh,
All right, so back to Vision Quest or whatever it's called. Michael, your thoughts?
Well,
Vision Pro.
first of all, we're a few months from the release of the Vision Pro. And if you know Apple's naming conventions, Pro is a product that's at the high end of a range of products. And so what will happen is that they will sell everyone that they can make. But I don't think that's the point where we know what exactly it will do. When we get the Apple Vision non-Pro at a different price point, we'll have a better idea. There's one thing about the product that I don't think people pay as much attention to as they might, and that's the UI. If you go back all the way to the mother of demos, where we first had a point-click interface, what we had was a persistent pointer on the screen, and a rolling box called a mouse that lets you move it around, and all windowing computers work that way. And then when we got to a touch interface, something happened that maybe we don't pay attention to because it's really natural. We just absorbed it. But there is no persistent pointer on the screen if you have an iPad or an iPhone. Basically, any part of the screen is available to you simply by touching it and tapping it. So that's a shift that we absorbed very quickly. But in many ways, the touch interface is very different from the mouse interface. And people keep asking, when will Apple do a touch interface on a MacBook? And it doesn't seem like they're very interested in doing that for one simple reason. What they've learned is that if you have to hold your hand out, your arm gets tired. So on a vertical screen, they don't have touch interfaces. Now with the Vision Pro,
Except for Microsoft, but go ahead.
pardon? Apple, I said Apple.
I
I
said
said Apple's not interested in it because of that.
Microsoft
So-
is, and I think it's a failure for the reasons you're suggesting.
So with the Vision Pro, what's interesting is you don't touch anything. You merely have eye tracking. So you look at things, and based on the fact that you're looking at them, they can be selected not by pointing at them, but just by with your hands in your lap or wherever you keep your hands, just clicking your fingers like that, and that's the selector. That's I think a big leap forward to a very natural and human interface. You just look at something and touch your fingers together, and you've selected it. I think that's something worth paying attention to, and seeing how people respond to it and adapt to it.
Okay, softball, Frank. What do you think about the implications of this technology for streaming and what's going on in the entertainment business?
Well, I think actually that's probably the one thing that will make this work, but I think it's going to happen when you get the non-pro version of it and regular people can buy it and the price of it is down. I have a feeling that, to be able to put a 50-inch television screen 5 feet away from you in your eyeballs, if your head doesn't get fatigued from the weight of it, and from what I hear, that's not a problem with this thing. Wait a minute, what just happened?
Oh, the kid just won.
Oh my God, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Djokovic loses anyway.
What are the
I think that he's going crazy. 20-year-old kid. I think that that's going to be where it works big. I also think it's going to work big in gaming. So, if you talk about the entertainment world, it's going to be people who want to watch movies, people who stream content, and people who game. Now, the idea of that user interface is pretty fascinating to me. I think that to me is the most important thing with this new device. I want to try that. I want to be able to reach out and touch those those things and do that whole touchy-feely thing with it. It's not about VR. It doesn't seem like that. They didn't even make a big deal out of it as a VR device when they did the demo. It's about AR, and it's about engaging with content. So I think that's where it's going to work. And the other thing is, interestingly enough, when you were talking, Steve, about why they don't have touch screens or Michael, touch screens on the MacBook, the new iPads are apparently almost as powerful as the MacBooks, if not as powerful. So those are touch screen, and I think that may be a road that they're going down too.
Yeah, I don't agree with
And
that.
not vertical.
I think that what Michael has to say about just the physical characteristics of it, that's why I don't like the idea of putting something on my head to begin with. And it's, just fatigue from, being forced into an interface. I just think it's a deal breaker. But I do think that the hints, the gestures that come from the Vision Pro environment are going to be painted across our living and working spaces. It doesn't have to all be in, a bunch of cameras in one location and all of that. It can pick it up from a variety of different plans, like Brent's environment does. I mean, how many cameras does he have in there? He's got more than Vision
All of
Pro.
them.
15%.
Well, but the Vision Pro, one of the other interesting things about it, obviously, aside from the fact that it allows you to sort of touch the air and make things happen as though you were, doing that Tom Cruise movie, is that it has.
It's not that you don't touch the air. You just keep your hands in your lap. All you do is look at things. It's much different from the
There
top.
was an advisory that went out about Zoom users to be very careful about what they're doing with their hands in their lap.
Ooh.
Well, yeah,
Ooh, yes.
it does also use your fingers, like you can select things by doing this and things.
That's
like
right.
that.
But the thing is, you don't have to lift your hands. You just touch your fingers together.
Yeah, they have downward-facing cameras.
Because that's right. The camera is looking at your hands.
So
And
You don't need a
so
special glove. You don't need to point at anything.
even
You just
more.
look at it.
When you
and
do
then
this,
tap your
Keith,
fingers together.
But I'm saying
the
even
Vision
more
Pro
people
will
like that.
change to don't believe anything I'm saying right now.
Elbows,
Just
yeah.
me.
Listen,
Exactly.
that Michael, that makes it even more fascinating to me. So, in the world of entertainment, I see a lot of possibilities with it, and I think that if the price was £300, I might buy one. I'm not going to spend
How much is a
£2,000.
pound?
It's about $1.50, $1.80, something
not
like
even
that.
close.
No,
He
it's
doesn't
$1.29. It's $1.29.
27.
Yeah, $1.29. I'm sorry, I'm thinking 1980. It's
Yeah, I'm
$1.29.
thinking the British Empire. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, I've got a good question for you now. We can
I
get.
didn't say my bit yet. Can I say my bit?
No. Let's go to.
I want to hear his bit.
I want to hear it too. That's how I get to hear it, is by saying what I want.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I'd like to know, how does everybody feel that Chris Christie is doing?
Well, I don't think Chris Christie's going to wear a Vision Pro.
Ah,
Let me just
Yeah,
because it won't fit on his head.
I'm deducting from your cash 20 credits for that. Okay, Michael, what do you wanted to say before?
I just wanted to add something to what Frank said. I agree that entertainment is going to be a killer app for it. One thing to remember is this is going to be the first good home 3D experience since the Viewmaster. So there's really no good way of showing 3D movies at home, but you will be able to show them on a Vision Pro headset.
Mm.
Well,
I have many
making
pairs.
3D movies for families is a big deal. And
So-
they didn't show that in the demos.
Yes, they did.
Implied
They
it.
did.
No, they did not. They implied it. They did not show how to do it. They didn't release.
No, they definitely showed it. and I can give you a reference to it.
Okay, great. Well, after the show, can you give me a pointer to it and then I'll argue?
Yes.
But I think what everyone's saying is there's going to be use cases that it's good at. So if you can afford $3,500, you buy one for those use cases, even if it isn't a constant use. But the real thing here that is amazing is how good the keyboard and mouse interface. You know, if you've got one of these instead of a mouse, you basically turn your Mac into a touchscreen. And you basically can do everything easily and productively with technology that goes back to the first Mac. And no one's really yet put something in place that's better than that. And this is an attempt to do that, but it's going to be challenged just by how good the existing technology is. Because you're going to have to want to replace, like take a Final Cut or a LumaFusion edit that you do, Steve, on the Gang. Would you really want to move from the touchscreen, or in my case, the touchpad, to something on your face? Even if you could move your hand around and do it, it has to be super good to want to move your work to it. So I think that's the challenge. It's how good the current stuff is.
Well, look, I would argue that the changeover from film to videotape and the changeover from videotape to files was the same kind of major change. And so I wouldn't say that you couldn't do it or you wouldn't want to do it. I think that I'll be honest with you, if I was editing as much content today as I used to edit, I might want to try a new system, and that may be a way to do it.
Okay, back to Chris Christie. Does anybody think, Dennis, that Chris Christie has a chance of having impact on this election?
Yes, he has a chance of having impact.
Dennis, I asked.
Oh, you want me? Okay.
And then you, Michael.
Well, just to spitball this and maybe blue sky something. What would a candidate look like who might eventually start a third party?
Chris Christie.
He'd look like Chris Christie.
That's exactly right. I think that's what he's sniffing around for. But I think also Larry Hogan is sniffing around in that arena.
It takes more than one person to have a party.
Yes. And the one
Larry
thing
Hogan, 0% chance.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter whether he has a 0% chance or not. I'm just talking about the multitudes that might want to be a part of a third party. And I think the idea of a Chris Christie, at least he's focused very much on one thing that a lot of people will listen to, and that is the entire anti-Trump position. That no one else in the Republicans Party or any of those candidates have managed to say anything about. They're afraid to. He doesn't seem to be afraid to, and that's a distinguishing factor.
Since DeSantis or whatever his name is seems to be fading.
DeSantis?
Yeah, DeSanctimonious.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like degenerative AI, only different.
Or like Marjorie
Michael, you were
Trailer
going to say
Greene.
something about Chris Christie.
Oh, you just said, will he have impact? He definitely will have impact for the reasons that Frank said. I mean, he's the only one who is going after Trump hard. He is fast on his feet. He's a great litigator. He can make the case clearly and with impact and with humor and with bite. But the GOP is very wedded to Trump, and people keep waiting for Trump to fall. He won't. So I think he will.
What was this nonsense about in the Substack chat about Will? What's his name? The writer.
George Will.
George Will, and also the other guy who
Steve Schmidt, George Will,
yeah,
and now Professor Galloway are saying Trump won't be in for various reasons.
Okay, let's have quick poll and then get to what your thoughts are, Michael. Raise your hand if you think that the Republican nominee will be other than DeSantis or Trump.
I think
Orange
there's.
Julius.
I want to see hands, please, starting with Dennis. You think that's true?
I think there's a high probability that Trump and DeSantis have a antimatter annihilation.
Okay. Brent.
I still think it's Trump.
So the answer is no. So
Right.
that's one yes, one no. Michael.
I still think it's Trump.
Okay, two no, one yes. Keith.
Strong no.
So what is that? 3 no?
No,
It's
no,
2 and 2.
no means
No, I'm saying Trump will be the candidate
will be.
strongly.
3-1.
3-1.
Okay,
Big lead, big
Frank.
lead.
Yeah, Trump will be the candidate.
Tina.
I think unfortunately Trump will be the candidate, but I do hold out some hope that Chris Christie actually starts the Republicans dissing Trump, and they kind of join him because they might see him starting to rise in the polls when he does that, and they might hop on that bandwagon with him
Not a
and
chance.
sort of.
Yeah, look, I don't, I have hope that you're right, but look, even so, I think a lot of Republicans feel the way you feel, but are not saying anything about it publicly and won't say anything about it publicly, and consequently, it won't change the Republican position. The general Republican position
So
will
my
not change.
my vote is possibly yes, and here's why. First of all, the media likes Chris Christie, and I didn't think that they did.
True.
I turned on the Sunday shows today and didn't have time to look at them. But the only interesting one that I saw was, not David Brinkley talking with Chris Christie.
Because he's dead.
No, it's
It's a
not.
one-sided conversation.
The guy who replaced him eventually, George Stephanopoulos, was having a conversation with Chris Christie. Chris Christie looked animated, and so did George Stephanopoulos. It's the only place for the media to go because nobody believes what David Jolly has to say about anything.
Too bad. He's good.
Actually,
but-
even
Why is he good? He's
MSNBC
he got rousted out of office about 6 cycles ago and doesn't have a job.
He does have a job. He's a pundit.
Even MSNBC likes Christie, by the way. It's the one, it's interesting. My thought is be careful what you wish for, because I read this thing yesterday that said if the Republicans did field a candidate other than Trump that was closer to regular GOP views pre-Trump, that they would win the election by a lot because of Biden's lack of popularity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is the
I think that's
problem.
complete bullshit.
The problem with this is, I mean, yeah, the media might like Chris Christie, but Trump folks hate that dude. Even if Trump isn't, if Trump doesn't end up being the nominee, and for whatever reason Christie is, they're not going to vote for that guy.
So here's my part 2 of why I say that there's a possibility here. If enough people in the media start to realize or are in their coverage basically saying it doesn't matter if Trump's the nominee, they lose. Period. People are going to start thinking about that as they get close. I don't think it's going to affect the early primaries, but it may well if anybody else shows any degree of strength in a third party, as you guys discussed initially, then it's a different ballgame because a third party is going to throw it away from the Democrats, so they don't like it, and it's going to be met with scorched earth by Trump.
You brought up the third party first of all, and second of all,
did
the
not.
media.
Somebody else did.
Is no, you did, Dennis. Okay, the media is already saying that, and there's except for the far right media, they're already saying that he will be the person that wins the Republican nomination. He will not be the winner of the general election. Everyone is saying that. Nobody is listening yet. I don't think that they will really start to listen until the other indictments come down and the media starts to work on that.
I don't agree with you. I think that we have enough evidence to assume that this is the worst former president in history, and the electorate is basically saying, yeah, we don't care.
Well, that's what I think. Politics is probably best summed up at the moment as Thelma and Louise. That is to say, okay, so we're going to drive off a cliff. I don't care. Let's drive off a cliff because the only alternative is giving in, and we're not going to give in. So I don't think rationality, which is, well, we're going to lose the election, even comes into their thinking.
No. Matter of fact,
I think
I would say-
I think it's deceptive to talk about the electorate, because the electorate is so divided. The Trump cult is a part of the electorate, but it's not the electorate.
No.
And never lose sight of the strength of the anti-abortion movement, regardless of personality, regardless of who's at the top of the ticket. The death of Roe v. Wade, I think, will be the animating force in the next election.
I also think that keeping that part in mind, that what's going on with that crazy senator who's blocking all of the military promotions
Tuberville?
Tuberville, because
That's
of
Coach
the
Tuberville to you.
because of the issue of the military paying for people to travel to get an abortion. I think that issue is going to make it a whole lot more difficult for the Republicans in general to move forward and to move away from this. The more he does that, the more it's pushing people away from republicanism. And I think, and if I'm wrong, I hope.
What is Christie's
No,
view?
I agree with you.
What
And
is Christie's
Jeff-
view on abortion, by the way?
He's pro-state.
So
just as Republicans won't criticize Trump, no Republicans are criticizing Tuberville. He's
Crazy.
It's par for the course. So bottom line, I think, to Michael's point, I think that the anti-abortion and crucially the economy are going to be the deciders in the election. And I think that favors Biden. I think all the noise about Biden's low popularity, nobody likes any of these people.
But correct me if I'm wrong, living over here across the pond and just watching this on my VPN. Isn't the American economy really strong? Aren't the jobs numbers really good? Isn't this even the marker that Trump used to use as the reason that the economy was good, which is the stock market is not tanking? It seems like the dollar's got some odd flexibility right now. It's going back to Michael reminding me what it really is worth against the pound. But the point is that all of that seems really good, yet the Republicans continue to press that everything in that is wrong and bad.
But so what? So what that they continue to press that?
That's
an election cycle. Of course they can say that.
But Steve, I do think I'm a bit puzzled by Biden's ratings because Frank's right. Most things are up and to the right. There isn't really a negative other than his age and his demeanor. That could be the sole reason why his ratings are low. But his performance actually is decent. I thought the NATO thing this week was where Zelensky was stood by himself and no one was speaking to him on that picture. I even think that's rational. I mean, why would you trigger a larger war with Russia right now? That's rational, and most people don't want that, including Republicans. So why is his rating so low?
And my point would be, who cares? When Biden was coming out of New Hampshire, he looked like a stone cold loser, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
And he's pushed through with an intransigent Congress, intransigent on both sides, liberals and conservatives. He pushed through essentially a jobs act he's going to ride through the election, to Frank's point of view. So I think that's noise.
Yeah, that's very likely as well. I agree with your what you think is going to happen. I always think is what's going to happen, but it's still super puzzling to me.
Well, one of the things to remember is that people don't pay a lot of attention to politics and to economic indicators, unless you're in that business. What people do know is that prices are high. Now, you can say that the rate of inflation has come down, and it has, from 9% to 3%, but still the prices are high. Eggs have fallen, but most other things in the supermarket cost more than you remember them costing. So that sits in people's head.
Except
Also,
for EVs.
remember this too. Biden hasn't done any campaigning yet. He's sitting on a $77 million war chest. He's not spending anything. Part of it has to do with
For
timing.
employees.
Part of this has to do with timing. You're going to see a campaign. The point that Steve made about all of the projects that are coming under funding, we're going to see those rolled out and pushed. And we're still a year and a half away from the election. I think you're going to be hearing a lot more about Biden in the months to come.
I think that's right. I think that's right. And I think the other thing to think about, and Michael, you touched on it, Krugman has been writing about it a lot lately, that the big numbers on the economy look really strong, but it's still the individuals who are maybe getting pay raises, but find that those pay raises go right out the door at the grocery store. So there's still some work to do at stabilizing the individual pocketbook before you might see Biden's numbers rise.
When I listen to the interest discussions on CNBC, there's a consistent critique of the present, which goes along these lines: the price of labor is too high, and we've got to reduce wages in order to get inflation under control, because the largest.
Yeah, that's Jim Cramer wanting to get the market pumped up. But so what?
But it's interesting that framing that labor as a commodity, something you buy as an employer, is the primary current cause of inflation, which kind of raises the whole class dimension of economics, let's call it. And I personally find that puzzling, because I'm not noticing wages being super high in where I am.
Yeah, unless you're a CEO.
Well, there's been
I am a CEO, and I just cut.
I think a much more important measure hasn't really come into focus yet, which is how many companies bite the bullet on work from anywhere and get past their commercial real estate problem. Once that starts to bite in, we're going to see whether or not the Republicans have anything to run against. I don't think they do, and I think that people are going to start, for some reasons of, we've been going through a recalculation of our family's location where we live, and it seems that there's a big influx, for example, from the Northeast to states like, God help us, Florida, over the issue of making a go of so-called transient income, which is another word for, do we look at the economy as the people having enough money to buy a home, or do we look at the economy as building blocks to a point where you have enough money to buy a home? And I think the latter is the Democrats' opportunity. And I think the stuff that Biden has done with electric vehicles and batteries and charging stations is phenomenal. And I also think, and I know I won't get a lot of agreement here, but I think what Musk has done in terms of synchronizing Tesla and his other companies, including Twitter, is going to have a major impact on the same issue.
Well, the other thing, Steve, is his openness about his patents and the charging infrastructure, which is kind of the opposite of what a normal capitalist would do. All his competitors are now implementing his charging standard. And that's going to lead to a unified infrastructure for charging. By the way, the price of an entry-level Tesla is now under $30,000 in real terms. Whereas when Dennis was looking to buy one before, I think it was in the mid $40,000, the same car.
Yeah, I was looking to spend almost 60.
Right. So
the prices have come down for sure.
Well, let's not think that by standardizing that charging system, he's not going to make $1 zillion more.
Yeah, and more power to him.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yep.
And that's the kind of standardization that happens in any emerging industry. It's like deciding the track gauge for railroads.
Like
if Musk hadn't bought Twitter,
Oh, Michael, Michael, go ahead.
if Musk hadn't bought Twitter, he would still be universally hailed as a genius.
Yeah, well, I think that's Trump's spin that he is somehow failing with Twitter. I don't think he is. Okay,
I guess everybody who does is just hallucinating then.
Well, I know that's your opinion, and it's a lot of other people's opinions. It's not mine.
It's not yours.
Michael, I don't think they're hallucinating. I think there's a very strong political urge to separate from Musk, which means that when the media focus, and Kara is the strongest on this, focuses in on his failings on Twitter, that becomes the meme and the narrative. But the reality is definitely not that. If you're looking at Twitter through just other spectacles, it's nowhere near like the media characterization.
This is where I think the Vision Pro and its auxiliary, what's the word? Accessories is going to have a big play. If Tesla and maybe Ford own the electric vehicle market, then the TV set is the car, and Twitter is the engine to connect the car. That's a big deal. And
yeah. Except for all the accidents that are going to happen because of that.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see any necessity for it.
That's how you sell. I mean, Keith, that's how the venture capitalists sell the next version of something, right? Is to say, well, this is okay, and it's got its problems, but the next one's going to be amazing. Okay.
Well, I think in EVs that is more to do with fully autonomous driving than the screen, to be honest. I think, but then the screen kicks in, because if you've got fully autonomous driving, you've got time. And if you've got time, you need media. So I do think they're correlated, but I think the next hurdle, and that's what Musk is focused on, and has so far failed, let's be honest, relatively failed in that it isn't fully autonomous really, but he's very close now. Every month he's shipping an upgrade. I don't drive a Tesla, and my Mercedes, by the way, is ahead of Tesla in terms of autonomous driving. So we're getting there. We're getting close.
All right, Keith, you have to leave, right?
Who?
I have to leave in 7 minutes.
Okay, so I want to wind this up. I want to go quickly around the table, starting with Brent, because he's been talking so much that my ears are bleeding.
Yeah.
I got nothing except Wimbledon was great this year.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah.
And what is your opinion about the what is it, local sports networks? Does anybody care?
Local sports networks.
Yeah, you don't care, right?
Were we talking about? I have no idea what that is. It's about.
Oh, okay. We'll talk. We haven't talked about it. It's a wild card.
I thought we were going to talk about the AI stuff with the strike and nothing.
Yeah, push this local sports thing to next week, and the strike is going to be going on for a long time.
Yeah, the strike's bad news, right?
Oh
now,
my God!
Interesting thing about that is that streaming, because they're on a year and a half in the future, timeline, they're going to do just fine for this strike.
Well,
So it's
yes,
another nail in the coffin of linear TV.
in terms of the content that's going to be available out there, streaming is the one that's going to be the winner in all of this.
They've
But
already filmed.
yes, but the biggest issue in terms of the for example, the writers is that, and streaming tends to it binges, and B, it has fewer episodes, which means that a writer doesn't really have an opportunity on a lot of these streaming programs to actually make an annual income.
Okay, I
That's
get it.
one.
That's
That's
the
one
writer
thing.
thing. What about SAG though? Is SAG a bigger deal than writers?
Well, let's talk about the AI issue with SAG, for example. This is one of the things that I think is really scary. They being the companies are trying to say that you can shoot a SAG person one time, multiply them using AI over many times, and only pay them once. So
That's background actors.
yeah, but that's a big deal, because if you talk about all the background actors, you add them all up, that's like one big star.
So if you look at the Queen movie, Freddie Mercury, that's how they did the Wembley scene. They had like 200 people, and they rubber stamped them.
Special effects.
Yeah, but it's not just that, because over the years they have been able to multiply large audience or large groups out of a small group. That's not
The
necessarily
largest
AI.
budget. What's the guy with the they call soccer? What is that name?
Football.
Oh, Messi?
No, the guy on TV, Apple TV Plus.
Today,
Saturday Night Live guy. What's his name? Jim.
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Ted
Thank you.
Lasso.
Yeah, the largest amount of their budget is for special effects to make it look like there are people in the stands.
Wow.
They spend tons of money every episode.
Yeah.
But there's way more. There's
But-
way more to talk about than just the AI issue and the actors. The
I think
actors.
Frank, talk about residuals, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of it's about residuals.
Yeah, so residual issue is huge, especially when a streaming program isn't going to have the kind of legs that a linear TV program used to have. So you have to look at that, because things like Netflix killing out a show after 2 years or 3 years kind of ends a residual situation for an actor. And the actors, the big issue with them is they have to make a certain minimum in order for their health insurance to kick in. And if they don't make that minimum, they don't get their health insurance, which can affect their whole family.
Which
Well,
works
it's
right into the,
$26,000 a year.
and it works right into the work from anywhere model.
No, it does.
No, there's an issue with the work from anywhere model, because a lot of the actors are now shooting their own auditions, as opposed to going into a place where they did an audition during COVID. They started shooting their own auditions using, for example, just the camera on their laptop. They are now spending large amounts of money to create these home studios. So this is happening all over Hollywood to
Yeah,
create
guy in the
these.
upper right-hand corner, for example.
Well, let's take a look at Brent's background shot. I mean, they're creating these home studios at great expense to themselves in order to do these auditions that they would do from home. So even the actors are doing that.
But there's a network that Paul Greenberg and Brent Leary created. The guy in the upper right-hand corner.
I'm just kidding. He's in the middle on mine. So
not where he is on my screen. So you have to say the guy with the hat.
Okay, with the Lakers hat, right?
Not Lakers.
So my point, and then we have to get rid of.
that's a Dodgers hat, isn't it?
Oh my God.
My
Really?
point is that they
Looks
have
like Green
developed
Day
a
to me.
network. They have developed a network with PPN, which has in mindshare in the CRM arena, they have overwhelming mindshare.
So I think there's
So that's a financial and a strategic target for people who are moving up from the creators stuff to these small, very fluid and mobile studios that are rising on top of the AI experience.
Well, but you know, I
I've
think,
hey, Frank, I've got to go. So let me just say one thing before I go. I think there's a much bigger issue here. This week, the last 3 weeks when I've done my newsletter, historically, I used to take Google Images and find one that illustrated my title. The last 3 weeks, I've used Midjourney to create images. This week, it was Lena Khan and Gary Gensler. And I asked it to create an image of the two of them. I don't know if Brent's got screen sharing in his A10, but he might be able to show my front page. But it's totally fake. There's no rights involved, and I don't have to pay anyone.
Well, there are rights. They're just not claimed or
No,
negotiated.
there are no rights. It's an
No,
original.
that's nonsense.
No, I created a
You can't
totally.
take a picture of Babe Ruth and have him, you
No,
know,
I didn't give it a picture.
smoking drugs. You
No, I
can't
did.
do that.
No, I didn't give it a picture, Steve. You don't understand. I gave it some words. I said, please give me a representation of the two of them. And by the way, it is not an image that looks like them, except vaguely.
This is what they're negotiating is air rights and talent rights.
And I'm telling you, there's no chance
Like
they'll
them.
win. And in this case, if I
Okay.
had longer, my dialogue here would be how stupid the unions are being by not seeing the big picture in the long term. They're fighting a losing battle.
Just give it to the big tech companies. Is
No.
that your plan?
No, look, it's going to be possible in the future to 100% digitize actors. 100%.
Nonsense.
Absolutely.
I think the unions know that this is what they need to be talking about, but they aren't.
Not yet. That's what the strike's about.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last thoughts? And I mean like 30 seconds maximum. And
Yes.
thank you, Keith.
Thank you, everyone.
So yes, there's two shows that I'm so late to, but absolutely love that I want to tell everybody to make sure they watch if they haven't watched them already. And that's The Bear, spectacular. And I discovered a show from 2012 called Longmire, which I am absolutely hooked on. It's incredible. That's it. I got nothing else.
Longmire and what? Because
The Bear.
The Bear.
there's
Oh,
too much.
it's-
too soon.
oh my God, it's incredible.
It makes me nervous how good it is.
The Bear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's just
I can't
spectacular.
stand it. I mean, you know, I'm not going to say no spoilers, please.
I love it.
No, it's just and unfortunately here I don't get the second season until
Oh, we're
like next
talking-
week. I can't
So last year. I mean,
I can't see it until. But
you have no
Longmire-
idea what you're talking about. now.
That's what, yeah. Longmire, however, is a spectacular show, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth looking at. If you like Yellowstone, you'll like Longmire.
Yeah. What Yellowstone? Isn't that over? Yes. It's
So is
over.
Longmire. It's been long over, but I had just discovered it, so there you go.
They're still selling it though. Okay.
Yeah, but it'll soon be
Michael
taken off. It was just taken off of Netflix, and I can only watch it on this thing here called Freevee, which is the paid part of Amazon.
well,
anyway.
see, Keith is your avenue to,
Yes, we won't talk about that. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
well, you
Move
don't
on.
have to.
Move on.
Michael, last thought.
I just want to endorse The Bear. What you said about it, and what the guy who only has one season to watch said about it, all true. It's fantastic. As for the strike, I think there's a lot more to say about it, but not in 30 seconds. So I think we should talk in more depth about it next week, or whenever
Absolutely.
whenever the next gang convenes.
Okay, Dennis.
I'd like to suggest that we're in the midst of forming a top in the tech economic or the tech entertainment sector. I think some of the things that we talked about today are going to take at least a generation to work through.
Okay.
The same generation that's going to take for the Republicans to be weaned out of the consciousness of our society.
Well, after Herbert Hoover, it was a generation before a Republican won the White House again.
Yeah. No,
So
that's the way it should be.
Hoover, that rings a bell.
Yeah. Well, that's what you
He
used to
sucked.
do, and they used to do that in the 80s.
I never did it. And I'll deny it as long as everybody else is still alive.
Whatever.
Last thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks to everybody who showed up and especially those who didn't. Please stay where you are, in place. No, they're good people on both sides. See you next time if there is a next time. Bye-bye.
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 Live long and prosper.
I'm gonna turn the stream off.